Crazy, weird Monday, everyone, huh? Well, inflation is soaring. Our southern border is a mess. Afghanistan is terror central again. And Budweiser just named this as a new brand spokesman. But there's an even greater menace looming out there. It's celebrities who lost their status. I'm referring to the blue checks. And I'm not talking about someone choking on their steak in Prague. Oh. Yeah, I debated internally whether to leave that joke in or not. Really? It's terrible. It's one of the worst jokes we've ever heard. So I left it in. Last week, Twitter removed the user verification symbols known as blue checks from any account that doesn't cough up $8 to subscribe to Twitter Blue. The cash will go toward replacing Elon's rocket that exploded. It's a shame he only had 2 more payments to go. So celebs saw their blue checks go away, including Kim Kardashian, Beyonce, Tom Cruise, The Rock, and of course, Greg Gutfeld. And my personal favorite, the Pope. Yeah, try getting $8 out of that guy. He always says he left his wallet in his other cassock. But then on Saturday, Twitter re-verifies many users with massive followings, including dead people like Michael Jackson and Kobe Bryant. Of course, accounts remain active for the brain dead. So it turns out Elon Musk is offering free blue checks for several celebs who hate him, including LeBron and Stephen King. It's a cute move, like when I loaned $50 to Brian Stelter for some pants. What was he doing without pants and an Applebee's anyway? But then came the meltdown from tons of celebs who want you to know that they didn't pay the $8 to get Twitter Blue. King tweets, "My Twitter account says I've subscribed to Twitter Blue, but I haven't." Man, he was as scared as any dentist who sees his teeth. Alyssa Milano tweeted, "Just wondering if you all see a blue check mark too, or am I seeing things?" Well, Alyssa, you're definitely not seeing things, including job offers. Then there's the walking stool sample, Patton Oswalt. Remember him? Most people don't. He tweets, "Woo, did the change your name then change it back trick? And the blue check went away. Good to know." All right, buddy. Popular journalists, if that's a real thing, were whining too. Maggie Haberman of the New York Times isn't happy, who says she didn't subscribe. And when Paul Krugman complained, saying he's definitely not paying for it, Elon Musk replied with this. You know, some celebrities went the other way. Charlie Sheen actually asked Musk for his blue check back, and he got it. And then he smoked it. I'll bet Sheen can't remember ever being this happy. But the media is tied up in knots. Axios describes the blue check as a badge of dishonor. Slate calls it a scarlet letter, proving that the folks at Slate are so stupid they don't know scarlet and blue are different colors. And when did everybody get so weird? And that's coming from me. I mean, I'm weird. Woo. Good luck getting an answer from Twitter. They don't have a PR department anymore. And all press inquiries get the same automatic reply, a poop emoji. That's why I like Elon, which is really how most journalists should be treated, because they're needy D-bags full of But back in the old days, by which I mean 10 years ago, a blue check simply meant that you were who you claimed to be. All you had to do was show them ID, just like when I claim my AARP discount at Cinnabon. Then pre-Musk, Twitter started taking away people's blue checks for saying things that angered libs. Conform, or we won't let you be you. And that never made any sense. That changed the blue check from a very simple verification to some sort of status symbol. Once again, anything libs touch turns to crap. Now a blue check meant you were better than everybody else. And then Elon bought the place, started selling the blue checks for $8 to anyone who wanted to pay. And what did that do? Well, in the insecure heads of celebrities and media hacks, it sapped their status. They felt miserable. Their velvet rope didn't keep the little people out. So a blue check no longer projected their superiority. Celebs had a little block of pixels that they saw as a status symbol, and now they see it as the opposite, because it's just not fair to them when people are treated equally. Yes, it's silly for a billionaire to make it look like famous people are paying for his app. Also, it's silly for famous people to panic that it looks like they're paying for a billionaire's app. Can everybody just take a break and pretend they're not crazy for 5 minutes? Life is starting to feel like a pre-board for a Spirit Airlines flight. Being a liberal must be so exhausting from one moment to the next. You don't know who's your friend and who's your foe. It could change back and forth at any moment. Heck, it happened to me today.
You know, we could totally tweet as Greg, and no one would know the difference. He'll never pay that $8.
How about this one? The only reason I make fun of Kilmeade so much is because I secretly want to be him. Hashtag handsome town post.
Nice. Oh, I got one. The only thing I love more than the Red Hot Chili Peppers is The View. Hashtag best show on TV. Post.
Noise. How about this one? Geraldo had some good points last night. Post.
Get back to work. And no pee breaks.
But, sir, employee 6147 forgot his pee jar.
Then hold it.
I love you, Father.
It's okay. You can use mine.
Excellent acting, by the way. And I'm not his father. But in case you're wondering, I might actually pay for the Twitter blue check myself, only because it matches my beautiful eyes. And I don't want people pretending to be me. Well, unless they're funnier. Let's welcome tonight's guests. At 3 p.m., she's the perfect complement to your day drinking. Host of The Story, Martha McCallum. Cheers! That's what Hollywood said when they told him to leave. TV writer and producer Rob Long. He's like the Fonz because he wears a leather jacket and lives over your parents' garage. Editor-at-large at Reason, Nick Gillespie. And finally, she's like the Unabomber, writing prolifically without bathing. Fox News contributor Kat Tiff. Rob, there's this phony debate going on, or should I call you Professor Rob?
Well, you're talking about a phony debate. You just call me Mr. Rob.
Yes. The people talk about, oh, this is about promotion, this is about money. This is about an emotional need. People have to admit that they're on Twitter because it serves as an emotional attachment. Everybody goes, no, I'll even say this. I do this to promote my book, or right. I do this because, you know, blah, blah, blah. People do actually need, but they can't admit it to others.
Right. I mean, I think it's important to remember that a lot of people don't do it.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why it's kind of a difficult business. A lot of people aren't on it. Some people have this thing, they exist in real life. Yeah. They have, like, real friends. So this is kind of a media story about media people being mad about a media story about media people. And I think it's kind of like, I want everyone to sort of take a deep breath, because I had a blue check, and I paid for it. But I had one, and I didn't know what it did for me, except I guess it kept people's from tweeting as me, as if anybody would want to do that.
I could no longer masquerade as you and hit on male gymnasts.
Well, but that did not stop you from doing that.
I know, that is true. That is true.
So to me,
I was doing undercover work.
To me, it feels like this sort of an ordinary person. You have to explain so much about this story. First of all, I explain what Twitter is, and then what people do on it, and then why there's a blue check, and then why there isn't a blue check, and then why you pay for it. This is exactly the problem with sort of media in general, is that it's a kind of they're so far up their own.
You can say it.
Can you?
Yeah.
They're so far up their own ass. Wow. I apologize. This is a classy show. I hate to bring it down.
Yeah. It's always a shock when Burl Ives swears.
Yeah. That was a really good one.
Thank you.
You know, I wish that you spent 10% of that creativity on your monologue.
Yeah, he's right. You're right, though. It's like media on media on media, and then we do a monologue on it, Martha. Does any of this matter? Do we matter?
You know, I mean, it just sort of brings home the whole question of this likes and checks and all of, you know, how many followers you have and how ridiculous the whole thing has become, that people are freaking out that they don't have a blue check, and then dead people have a blue check and they can't tweet at all. So it's kind of, I think it is kind of bringing home how separate the group of people who actually go on it. I thought that Bette Midler was my favorite complainer, though. Overall, she said, "You tweaked the algorithm and tanked my metrics." And I thought, if anybody read this, 10 years ago, they'd be like, "What is she talking about? You tweaked my algorithm and tanked my metrics?" And then at the bottom, which I thought was kind of funny, even though I love the Elon Musk space program, she said, "Sorry about your rocket."
At least he puts a rocket into space.
Exactly.
Midler. What have you put into space besides Twinkies?
Wow. See, again,
Yeah.
just a little bit more effort away from me and my appearance.
I don't know. That seems to be the gold mine.
I guess you're right.
Everything else is
Nick,
up a
it
little
seems
short.
like if a lot of people are getting their blue checks, we should start just tweeting as famous people.
I've been trying. I've been impersonating myself for the past 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. I liked having the blue check, before you have to pay for it, which I may do, but because a couple of people I work with didn't have it. And I would always be like, it really doesn't matter that I have this blue check that you don't have. Really. You can bring it up in almost any context.
Yes.
And because they're journalists, they get mad.
Yeah.
They're
You have to
so
just-
easy to...
Yeah, you just bring it up even without even any prompting. Remember that time at the funeral when you brought it up?
No, it was, I thought it was appropriate.
Yes, it was. It was.
People were crying anyway.
That's part of my philosophy. Always give bad news to people who are suffering.
That would be great.
Yeah, right. You give them because it's like it can't get any worse. Well, while you're here, you're fired. Kat, isn't this really about the human weakness, the human desire for status that we're always trying to look for it, and it undermines everything and underpins everything, I think.
Yeah, especially because we're all going to die.
Oh, good point.
Well, that's what I always think about
are.
most of the time, yeah.
This guy's not.
Oh, well, best
I'm
of
getting
luck.
better looking as I get older.
Okay, I am
you
too,
start
but
from
I'm
a
still
bad
going to
baseline.
die.
Yeah, no.
You have your blue check, buddy.
Do I?
Yes.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. Everybody with more than 1 million followers has the blue check.
Oh, really?
Have the blue
I have
check.
2.7 million.
Yeah.
Does that mean I should get
But
2
who's
point?
counting?
I
Should I
also knew you were going to bring that up. So you're like, some people care about status so much.
Yeah.
But I have 2.7 million followers, and I don't have 1 million followers, so I don't have the blue check. But I don't want to pay for it because although I am concerned about maybe the limited reach of my fiery hot takes, I don't want people to know that.
Right. I want to make a correction that I actually have 2.4, not 2.7 million.
Oh,
You lost it.
It's funny because I was going to talk about how weak it is that people are so attached to things that give them status, but in your face.
Yeah. I was like,
Your
what is he
face.
talking about?
In your face.
Yeah.
No,
well,
that's
you
it.
made that clear.
Yes. Look at that. See that right
I
there?
can see it,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a little blue check, huh? Yeah. It's like the opposite of a malignant mole.
it's a beauty mark.
Wow, you should work in marketing.
I should work in marketing.
It's really pathetic. I mean, it's so pathetic.
I know.
Think about what we're talking about. It's like, do you have a blue? I mean, the only people I was ever happy that I impressed with my blue check were my kids.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, she has a blue check.
Martha, you look like a doctor from the future.
Really? Maybe
Yeah.
I am a doctor from the
Right?
future. Here to diagnose what's wrong with
she look
you.
like the
You
doc?
cure this show? I don't know.
Right.
the
You gotta move
doctor
up.
from.
Ooh, fun stuff. Up next, a senile father and the low-life squatter. Doesn't rhyme. Post, an actual paper, Cat. Hunter Biden may be living at the White House with his second wife and their 3-year-old son in a desperate attempt to avoid being served legal papers by his baby mama. It must get hectic with all the crying and diaper changing. And the baby's a handful, too. It's because he's old, right? There have been several sightings in D.C. in the past 6 months, lending credence to the theory that he's living with Pops to hide from process servers in his ongoing child support fight with the former stripper. And the White House is a great place to hide. It's the last place we saw Chris Wallace. Either way, if Hunter's shacked up at the White House, they can finally sterilize his room at the Motel 6. Wow. Meanwhile, House Oversight Committee Chair, or HOOK, James Comer says at least a dozen Biden family members will be exposed for having received money from foreign entities. But hey, it's not like the Bidens aren't used to being exposed. What? You get the... Well, never mind. But But was this the Biden family influence peddling scheme?
This was the Biden family influence peddling scheme. And you know, when people say, well, they were involved in ventures around the world, I haven't found any legitimate business dealings on the Biden end.
So despite all that, the big guy should announce anyway his re-election campaign tomorrow in a pre-recorded video. He'll be holding up a current issue of USA Today, so you know it's not from years ago when he still had brain and digestive functions. But at 80 years old, his age has become an issue, even among those who support him like a pair of orthopedic socks. As the New York Times points out, many Democrats, particularly younger ones, are worried that he will simply be too old to be effective in a second term. And by younger voters, they mean this. Anyway, we were able to obtain an early copy of Biden's video announcement.
My fellow Americans, the choice has never been clear. On one side, extreme MAGA Republicans. Racism, Charlottesville, January 6th. I promise, however, to wear Ray-Ban aviator sunglasses, eat ice cream, and occasionally show passion by yelling phrases like, come on, man, and give me a break. Thank you, and God bless the United States of America. Come on, man, give me a break. Not a joke.
Martha, you know, we're pinning this on the New York Post, but isn't that amazing if he's living at the White House with his family so he doesn't get...
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's almost too on the nose a story to be true, but I'm going to say I believe it.
And not only that, that same New York Post story says that Naomi and her husband are also living there. And you see all of these people coming and going from Marine One on a regular basis. There are 16 bedrooms, so there's plenty of room. If anybody else wants to move in, I think they have 35 bathrooms and 16 bedrooms.
You know, they need those bathrooms.
What I don't get is, you know, can you... how can you really... They say he might be avoiding getting served papers from London Roberts by hiding behind the Secret Service. I'm thinking, like, what kind of law enforcement official is going to have, you know, people come to serve papers and they're going to go, no, you can't get in here?
Yeah.
It's very strange to me. But I also thought it was interesting what I noted in that article that London Roberts, that this little girl that they have who's 4 years old, her name is Navy.
Yes.
Which is interesting because he got kicked out of the Navy for doing drugs. So maybe she named their child that to just kind of stick it to him.
Yeah. God, there's a joke about, but I won't say it. Yeah.
Something about the Merchant Marine?
I don't know. Nick, you know where my brain's going.
I'm sorry to hear that. It's going to one of those bathrooms in the White House.
Yes. Have you been to the White House?
Yes, I have been to the White House.
We have people who haven't been to the White House. It's not an attractive place.
No.
The inside is very, it's like somebody let it go to rot 30 years ago, right? And you know what it is?
It's like Graceland without the attitude.
It's like the Hef's Playboy Mansion without
absolutely.
the STDs.
Yeah.
Well, not anymore.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah.
So why would you want to move there unless you had to?
Well, I got to tell you right now, if my father was president, I would be living in the White House. Mm-hmm. You know, and I would invite all of my friends all the time.
You would live above the garage like Fonzie.
Absolutely.
You'd be getting all the chicks.
I don't even know if there is a garage in the...
Is there a garage at the White House? That's a great question.
I think that's the one we should have been talking about rather than the check marks.
No, here's the thing. I bet there's no garage. I bet there's no ice maker.
Yeah.
Right? All the things that we take for granted as modern people are not in the White House.
Yeah.
Right?
But Joe Biden is okay with that because he has this ice cream delivered, you know, in a horse and carriage every day.
If you don't have a garage, you don't have a second freezer or a second fridge where you keep the tall bottles of Pepsi. Cat.
This is a guy who grew up in the California of the American dream. That was the American dream, right? The second refrigerator.
You had the second refrigerator. This is what you guys don't understand. You had the 1968 Camaro, right? Blue convertible. You had the freezer. In the freezer, you had the tall Pepsis up in the front, and some beer in the back. And if you had the second fridge was a sign of status. That was the blue check mark of your ranch-style home in Menlo Park. Mm-hmm. Cat.
Well, that should have been your monologue.
It should have been. So, Kat, what do you make of this story? Do you believe it?
Yeah, maybe, but I wouldn't want to live in the White House myself.
Why not?
Because there's like people who visit it.
Yeah, that's true. Tours.
Yeah, like
Not anymore. I think it's been pretty much closed down.
you can though. I wouldn't like to be like looking out my window and then see someone looking back at me.
I think it's separated. I think they keep the riffraff out.
And I apologize for that, Kat. I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah, it does happen.
Yeah.
I always feel like no one can see in my windows, but I know that's not true. I also just feel like you were really insensitive just now to my fan base
Yes.
of old men.
Yes, I was.
I want to say, guys, it's not age. It's plenty of 80-year-old men. You guys still got it,
Yeah.
okay? It's just Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Literally, I know a lot of 80-year-olds. Well, I mean, that's not true. But I know more than one 80-year-old who can complete a sentence and more.
Absolutely.
It's not just an age thing. It's just that for any age, he's not with it. He's not with it. And it's not even fair to him to make him run for president.
Yeah, I think it's unfair. I think you're right when we often make fun of Joe Biden's age because there are a lot of people that are in that group. But I always say, Rob, 80 is the new 50. It really is. I mean, think of everything that you have at your fingertips. You have Relief Factor, you have Balance of Nature, you have Relaxium. An 80-year-old, they don't look a day over like 79. I mean, how old are you? You're 83, Rob.
I'll be 83 in May.
Yeah.
I look pretty good.
Yeah, you look great.
The difference.
How is the Relief Factor?
It's not working.
Not working.
There's no factor.
Yeah. Edit that out.
There are two kinds of 80-year-olds. The kind that say, I have to go to the bathroom, and the kind that say, I just went to the bathroom. It's only two kinds. But I'm actually more interested in the syndicate. That's what I found interesting about the New York Post article. I mean, look, so Hunter Biden's living in the White House. What we know about Hunter Biden is he rarely leaves the one bedroom. Like he's there for like 27, 36 hours. So no one's really going to see him. Mm-hmm. You may smell him, but not going to see him.
Right.
The syndicate is amazing. It's like, you see those shows in the like the 80s, the mob, the mob
blank.
shows, the mob like the exposés. They have like pictures of everybody and this is like Sammy Red Sauce Biden, and over here is Three Cheeses Biden, and that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like a whole syndicate of people, kind of they're getting a little sugar, little taste, because the big man who's kind of losing it. There's going to be a gang war. Mm-hmm. I'm here for it. I think it'd be kind of a cool movie.
Yeah, they did it. I think it was called, remember Point Blank with Lee Marvin?
Yeah.
As he works his way up the syndicate?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
And the Mel Gibson remake was great, too. Was that Point? No.
Yeah, with...
Payback.
Yeah, Payback.
Great.
His best movie.
Yeah.
His best movie. Anyway, we'll talk about that afterwards. Drinks my place. Up next, Iconoclast Today. Get on their knees and pray. Speak of punk rock legend Nick Cave, who in a recent interview reveals he now has a new way to F with people that doesn't involve music at all. Hit it, maestro.
I was much more concerned with people on a different kind of a level, a different kind of thing.
How do you with people today? What could you say now that would
Be a
really...
conservative.
Is that the today's equivalent?
Go to church?
Yeah, you go to church and be a conservative. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At least that would get Madonna to put on some clothes. Cave's sentiments, in fact, actually coincide with a surprising surge in faith among young people. Maybe President Biden has driven them to say, please, God, help me. A recent survey finds that about a third of 18 to 25-year-olds say they believe more than doubt the existence of a higher power. That's up from about one quarter in 2021, when Dr. Fauci convinced people that Satan was real. I got a smattering all over it. Many say the increase could be traced to those specific hard times. And it's like my uncle used to say, there's no atheists in a foxhole, before we turned him in for theft of valor. Didn't serve a day. Anyway, but for many young people, it was the first crisis they faced, aside from a missing iPhone charger. But at least now when they text OMG, they might mean it.
Nice one, Greg. And by the way, my quads are almost as big as yours now. Thanks for the workout tips.
No problem, God. No problem at all. Nick?
Yes.
You a fan of Nick Cave?
I like Nick Cave a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And I particularly like his newsletter or blog, The Red Hand Files, where he talks on a very equal basis with his fans and admirers and often disagrees with them, but always does it kind of forthrightly in a way that is rare among celebrities or even friends of mine.
Yeah,
Most of them just call me names.
Yeah, and you deserve the names.
Yeah.
You're a libertarian. Are you religious?
I am not, no.
Really?
I call myself an apatheist. I just don't care.
Okay.
I was raised Roman Catholic, and I have 5 of 7 sacraments. I suspect I'm not going to complete the set, but, you know, I've gotten pretty far.
Yeah. What do you make of what Nick's saying? I mean, it's kind of like what you and I have talked about this a long time, but rebellion against rebellion is often true rebellion.
Yes, and he even in that interview, which is really worth listening to, I think, or watching, he talks about how he likes to screw with people, and you know, you do that by kind of countering what they expect you to be doing. And I think, you know, there's actually, we have definitely talked about this, there's a strong conservative dimension to punk rock, and the proper understanding of the Thatcher Revolution in England was that the same forces that gave rise to punk gave rise to Thatcher. Punk was in no way a response to Thatcher. It anticipated her.
Interesting.
Because people were sick of a status quo where they were told everything was good, everything was fine, and people in charge knew what they were doing. Punk was screw you. Margaret Thatcher was screw you.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it, Rob?
I wasn't listening to a word he said.
Were you know, let me ask you this. Were you thinking about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
I was thinking about candy. No, I think it's probably true. Look, no, I mean, I am a churchgoer.
Yeah.
I do go to church.
Yeah.
But do you believe in God?
And I do believe in God. Going to church is a very big commitment if you do go. I mean, it's a little bit bigger. I feel like you shouldn't just go to church because you think you're going to screw with people, because that's like you got to get up early on a Sunday. That seems like a lot of work to do.
Yes.
And what you could probably find at church would be something maybe bigger and deeper than just knowing you're trolling the libs.
But maybe that's a start.
It may be, but you know, the problem is if you really read the New Testament, the problem with the ultimate problem with Jesus is that he's kind of a hippie, and you kind of have to get past that. I don't think he's conservative or liberal, but if you go to church, you might learn that all that stuff and the blue check stuff is probably number 9 or 10 or 12 or 50 or 99 on the list of important things.
That's right. You know, I don't think in the Bible anybody has a blue check, Kat.
No.
Yeah.
But some of them have books named after them.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's what you're shooting for?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people are just featured as side characters.
Yes. So what do you think?
What do I think about God?
No, about what Nick is saying. Not this Nick, that Nick. The Nick that's not here.
Saint Nick?
Yeah, Saint Nick. That's Saint Nick over there. Right. We got Saint Nick over here. His sled is double parked. You got Nick Gillespie over here. His Harley is in the shop.
I was just trying to think of how many sacraments I've had, because I only could count 4, but I don't know what I'm missing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't
tell you, you're definitely not going to be able to consecrate the host anytime soon.
No, because I'm a girl.
Yeah. Right.
Get to the point. I got to move on.
What's the point? I don't know. I mean, I feel like that would be great. I wish I believed in God. I just don't know. I feel like I'm an aging bag of bones and blood, and I would love to believe I'm something more than that. But I just don't know. Like, I can't even, like, send an email without consulting 5 people. How am I supposed to know who God is? People are always like, why aren't you religious? I'm like, as if it were my choice. I would choose to be religious. I would love to have the comfort of religion.
There you go. Last word, Martha. This is getting really heavy.
It is getting really heavy. I do think that there have been all these other religions that have replaced religion.
Yes.
So you have climate change, you have the government. So the government has swept in to take care of everything for everyone. So this is the ultimate rebellion, to say, I don't need you, don't need the government. I have God. I have, you know, my faith. He's going to church. He says he's conservative. And I think that does become a rebellion. And Jesus was a big rebel. And his friends were big rebels, and they were up against the Romans. They were up against the orthodoxy that surrounded them in Israel. So, I mean, he was the ultimate rebel. So, if you want to sort of rage against the machine,
that's it.
That would be an authentic way to do it.
It is interesting, though, when you think of the ultimate. What is the ultimate kind of like against the God would be wokeism in the sense that it's so internal. It's about who you are, your identity. My identity matters more than what's external.
Totally. You want to freak people out? You say like Bishop Aaron, who's I follow a bit, and he says the world is not about you.
Yeah.
And that's like the meanest thing you could say to most people today. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I thought the entire world was about me. But he's saying, no, it's not about you. And that is revolutionary.
Yeah, actually, it is about me.
Well, except for you.
Except for yes. All right, we got to move on. Our guests are spouting local.
Assalamualaikum friends, welcome back to my channel. तो आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक है